You are listening to Any Given Sunday, the Monday edition for Monday, February 11th, 2019. I am your host, Manny Brown. What's good, everyone? Hopefully you guys had a happy, safe, blessed week. I am back with another episode of the podcast, and my guest this week is the Suge Knight of the whole Dead End operation, my boss, curator, producer, executive member of Dead End Hip Hop, Dead End Sports, Is the Mic Still On, Dead End Gaming, a whole host of other items and things that he'll probably talk about on the podcast as well. Mr. Kenneth B. Inge. What's good, Ken?
What's good, brother? Glad to be back on the show.
Yeah, we had to get you back. We've been talking a lot of sports topics lately, so I figured we get it on wax and put a show out together to the masses. But nah, man, just chilling, man. You know, as I told you offline, just trying to survive this nor'easter / blizzard / snowmageddon, whatever the hell they're trying to call it, that we going through here in the Pacific Northwest. How's things in Atlanta?
Things are calm, man. I think the weather's going in and out. Like, you know, it was 80 degrees one day here, then it jumped down to like 50 in the 40s, and then today it was like 60. And warm, and it was just weird. It's just all over the place. They don't know what they want to do.
Well, Atlanta's always like that, though. Well, I've only been in Atlanta twice, and it was the summertime, so I don't know what the winters be like. But if it's anything like when I was in Augusta, yeah, that shit is weird. I was stationed in Augusta for 8 months, and it was like the most harebrained weather ever.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
How was the Super Bowl?
It was. You know what? Here's the thing, and I saw a lot of. This is how I felt, but I didn't go to the city a lot, so you know how I felt about it may have been different than people that actually went in and out of the city. But what I saw from people that were, or people that do stay in the city, is that it felt like a regular weekend in Atlanta. So there wasn't really like the craziness that you would expect with the Super Bowl. It just felt like another week, which was weird. And, you know, I'm sure it had a lot to do with, you know, the Patriots and the Rams being in it.
Yeah.
And New Orleans not being able to come to the city because they would have came and tore it up in a good way. But yeah, man, it was weird. It just felt very mild and mellow.
Interesting. Well, because it's crazy because I was listening to a couple shows in the week in the whole lead up to the Super Bowl, and a lot of people kind of hate Atlanta as far as like a Super Bowl city. Like in the past, like because I think it hosted it 2 other times in the 90s, I believe. Atlanta hosted a Super Bowl, and well, obviously 99 or 2000, I should say, with the Rams and the Titans, and then I think before that it was 93, and like media personalities, take that for what you will anyway. But they said they hated the experience in Atlanta. Like they hated it. Like it was just terrible. Traffic was horrible. Just the city didn't seem like it was hosting Super Bowl material type of thing. So it was strange because it's like, oh, Atlanta, like you would think Atlanta is like, oh, it's a big city, like able to host big events and stuff. It hosted the Olympics, like, but nah, a lot of people hated Atlanta as far as a Super Bowl city.
Yeah, they can't handle it, man. Like traffic is bad now. So if traffic was bad back then, I would imagine how they would feel now. It's absolutely horrible, and it started to become worse in the suburbs, and that's when you know that that things are getting out of hand, and they also need to figure out what to do with the transportation because the MARTA system here isn't very good. So yeah, I can see that. Them saying that, but hey, Stephen A. Smith loved it.
Oh, Stephen A. Yeah. Nah, I just find that interesting. So, I mean, but I noticed that the Super Bowl this year just lacked. I was mentioning that on one of the other shows that I did. It just lacked a lot of buzz. Obviously, a lot of that is Patriot fatigue. I think people are just tired of the Patriots, myself included. But I think it's just also the novelty of the Rams. And it just kind of felt like it was just a ho-hum Super Bowl. It just didn't seem like, I mean, we'll get to the game in a second, but just the lead up to it, the hype to it just wasn't there for me this year.
Nah, it wasn't. It was dull, man. Like I wasn't excited to be the Patriots. Everybody that know me know how I feel about them. And I would have loved to see, the young blood Mahomes go to the Super Bowl and give us something fresh. But no, it was just like none of the quarterbacks interested so dull leading into the Super Bowl, and it didn't really seem like the media cared to talk about it that much either.
Yeah,
like they only did it because they had to.
Yeah, I agree. It kind of felt that. I mean, again, it was just like one of the most like legit forgot the Super Bowl was coming up. Like it was just kind of like, oh shit, like the Super Bowl's this Sunday. Like because I usually plan on going to a Super Bowl party or something or planning a Super Bowl party, and it just literally came and went. It was just like, oh yeah, the Super Bowl's on Sunday. Like.
Well, and that was the thing. Like we had a Super Bowl event at the studio, and so I was getting prepared for all of that, and that turned into a situation because people were showing up at 5:30, and the pizza was going there at 6, and nobody was there, and I had to fly, race to the studio to let people in. And I wasn't supposed to come until halftime, so it was a nightmare and a bit of a fiasco, and. So we have this thing because B had two of his homies in town. Yeah. So we were like, oh, we'll just do something. So that's what we did, and then we get what we got as a result of it, a dull Super Bowl.
Oh man, don't even remind me. Yeah, I guess we could talk about it a little bit. I mean, just how bad that Super Bowl was, and I know people kind of, and it's crazy because I think the universal consensus is that it was just a bad game, an uninteresting, dull, boring game. And I think now you have a small minority or a small pocket trying to fight that narrative. Cause you had Trey Wingo and his rant, oh, you don't like defensive football, you're just a millennial or whatever, the typical dumb analysis. Okay. Yeah. But, it was just a bad game, man. It's just boring. I mean, I love defensive football games. Don't get me wrong, but it's just there was nothing exciting about that game. There was not one moment of drama in that game. Maybe the drive that the Rams had, in the fourth quarter when Goff threw that interception, when you just kind of knew the game was over. That was probably the one moment of drama. But outside of that, there was nothing in that game. Nothing that just was that just made you think that game was worth watching.
No, it wasn't, and that wasn't a defensive struggle. That was just poor offense.
Exactly.
That's what that was, and we know what a defensive struggle looked like. We know what good defense looks like, and that was the Baltimore Ravens. When they were on the field, their defense was the offense, and the Giants when they were in the Super Bowl and how they were able to shut down the Patriots high flying offense as well. But that just wasn't it because. The Rams are known for their offense. The Patriots are known to be able to score the ball. And the thing about it is, how can they go out here and say that, oh, this was just a great defensive game when neither of the teams played good defense all year long? Exactly. The Rams gave up points in every single, left and right. I could have probably got out there and scored on them. They gave up 5 yards a carry on the run. And their corners were not any good. No. Don't try to sell me that was a defensive struggle. It wasn't. It was just a bad football game. Tom Brady, yeah,
Absolutely. I agree. I completely agree. It was just bad. It was just a horrible offense. And that's the crazy part too. The defenses actually played well relative to the offenses. But I mean, it just still was just a bad offensive football game overall. Tom Brady did nothing. Jared Goff just looked like he was just scared. He just shit his pants. He just didn't know what to do. And that's crazy because I praised Jared Goff in the NFC Championship game, but he just, if you had to blame one person, obviously there's blame to go around, in a lot of different directions. And I think the Rams are the more interesting part of the story than the Patriots. I mean, the Patriots are the Patriots. I mean, what else could you say? 6 Super Bowl championships. I mean, it's boring. I mean, we can sit here and wax hyperbole about the Patriots, but I mean, everybody's done that in the last 2 weeks. But I think the interesting thing is the Rams and how much blame, does McVay get the lion's share to blame? Does Goff get the lion's share to blame? The whole Gurley situation. I put it on when I did this post Super Bowl show. I put the lion's share on Sean McVay. I mean, this is a guy that's been praised, has been showered with nothing but bouquets, and he's a genius. And he's, basically if you shared school lunch with him in 5th grade, you're going to get a coaching hire. Like, for you to have 2 weeks and that's the offensive game plan that you come up with and no adjustments at halftime, yeah, he's got to take the hit for that one.
That was the thing that disappointed me the most because, sometimes you can see things. I didn't see it with Sean McVay, but I know what a lot of people were telling me, football experts, people that played the game, and all I kept hearing about was Sean McVay this and Sean McVay that. And so when I thought about it, when I picked my teams, I said, well, who has the best chance against Bill Belichick? And I thought legit it would be Sean McVay because I thought he was creative offensively. And he was the next guy up, but he wasn't. And I was like, okay, well, they managed to survive the first half. He's going to make his adjustments, and he wasn't. Sean McVay was a deer in headlights. He was, and he admitted it. He was like, I was outcoached, and I never thought that Sean McVay would be outcoached in a game, but the Super Bowl is different, and he had no answers for what the Patriots threw at him. And I don't know if if you follow Warren Sharp on Twitter, but
nah.
Man, you need to follow him when it comes to football and the way he analyzes and break down the game.
Okay.
I highly recommend. I don't follow a lot of people, but he's one of the guys that will always give you information that you can rarely find anywhere else. So, but he broke it down, like all the way down, and there's a thread, and I'll send it to you so you can put it in the show notes for the listeners. But he basically broke it down. He was like, Sean McVay should have went to like a 12 personnel and kept the tight ends in. And he basically said that whenever they went to 12 personnel, they was able to execute their offense. And whenever they went to 11, they struggled. And that the Patriots basically struggled against 12 personnel all year long. So, and the Patriots were able to defend 11 personnel all year long. Like their efficiencies were counter to each other. And the fact that a guy that people have talked about and praised wasn't able to figure that out or have a coaching staff come to him and tell him that is extremely disappointing if he's the genius that everybody proclaims him to be. And so I just couldn't believe it, man, because that game was there for the taking. And
yeah, absolutely.
It was all up to him to settle his quarterback down and to call the right plays to get him settled. So, and he didn't do that.
Yeah, it's just the game plan overall was just left a lot to be desired. I mean, you knew Goff was nervous. You knew Goff was just not himself. And you didn't call any kind of short passes. You didn't try to get the ball out of his hands quickly. Like, I didn't see no screen thing, like nothing. I mean, and we're not saying anything that nobody else hasn't said. I mean, I think everybody said the same thing, but it was just surprising. But I kind of was worried about them because I was worried about how healthy Gurley was. And I think he makes that team go. He makes that offense go because everybody knows the Rams are, they're built on the play action. And if they couldn't use the play action, and C.J. Anderson just doesn't have that same effect that Todd Gurley does, if they couldn't get that play action going, they were going to be in trouble. Because I think what this proved was that the Rams are a one-dimensional offense.
Yeah, and nobody's scared of Jared Goff. And I spent quite some time arguing with my fellow Dead in Sports compadres about this whole thing. He had the nerve to tell me, Nick, Mr. Disrespect, shout out to him, shout out to FIFO, shout out to B, and they had the nerve to tell me that Jared Goff was top 10. And I said, hell no. Jared Goff is not a top 10 quarterback. And
not right now anyway, no.
No, he can definitely get there. But, when you look at the game, when you look at how the Rams play, it's exactly what you just said. They are effective when Gurley is the man. Mm-hmm. And that's it. When he lost Cooper Kupp, he struggled. And everybody kept pointing to that. And Josh Reynolds or whatever his name was, I mean, he just couldn't do anything. And that was before.
I hate their receivers. I don't love their receivers at all. Outside of Cooper Kupp, I mean, I know, what's his face?
Robert Woods.
Overrated. Yeah, Robert Woods is nice. He's all right. I mean, what's the other one? The cat that they got from the Patriots.
Brandon Cooks.
Brandon Crooks. Yeah, he's overrated.
Oh my God.
He's so overrated. Oh my God.
How you dropped that touchdown?
Oh my God. Dude, I sat there. I almost broke my TV. I was like, how the hell did he drop that? Like, oh my
God.
God.
And then Jared Goff missed him. Like,
yeah.
It's just so so I was like, fine, we'll see. If he beats Brady, fine. Maybe I'll concede. I wouldn't have conceded, but maybe depends on how he played. But I'm like, he's not top 10, not in top 10, not yet.
No, not yet.
And we saw that because he couldn't take his game to another level. And if people were paying attention, there were stretches and he hit a wall this season where he wasn't effective at all. He wasn't throwing touchdowns. He was missing receivers. Like, he wasn't good.
No,
he looked like Jeff Bishop.
Basically from late November to like the middle of December, he had that stretch. Remember they lost that game,
right,
at home into the Eagles. He struggled against the Lions. I mean, he just had that stretch, yeah. And you said, take his game to the next level. I don't even think he needed to do that. I think he just needed to play as good as he played against the Saints. And I praised Jared Goff against the Saints. I thought he outplayed Drew Brees in that game. He made some amazing throws, especially in the fourth quarter. And he just needed to do that. And he could do that.
You know what? I can't fully disagree with you there because of the throws. But I think Sean McVay did a good job of getting him settled. He still looked a little bit rattled. But when he was able to really make a throw, he made some beautiful throws in the game. And that's the thing about him. He has great accuracy, but he really didn't look in control of the game.
Yeah.
And that was in the second half. It looked like he was able to execute just enough. And I think, going into the half, he made a beautiful throw. I forgot who he was throwing to, but it was a beautiful throw. Got him a touchdown with Gurley.
Mm-hmm.
And he made a couple of beautiful throws, on the game. I think the drive that got him the game, but he did just enough. But he didn't look in control of the game, and so. But I won't fight you too much on it, but he did what he needed to do.
Yeah, well, I just felt like relative to what he started out, because remember in the first half, I mean, all the way up until that fake punt, I thought that really turned the game around. I thought that was the biggest play of the game, the fake punt. I thought that settled the game. I thought that settled the Rams. I think it just allowed them to kind of take a deep breath because they were on their way to getting run out of the building. And he just settled down and he really played. I thought that was the best game I've ever seen Jared Goff play. And I watched him in college a lot too. So I was like, man, Jared Goff is actually balling. Like, he played a hell of a game. He out breezed Drew Brees in a lot of stretches of that game. And so I expected him to keep it up. Like, I had expectations for Jared Goff. And I've never been like a big Jared Goff believer. Like, I saw talent in him, but I didn't think he was number one overall pick talent. But, obviously.
But you know what? I think that the carryover effect, right, from that game. So I expected him to do that maybe a little bit more. And if he would have won the game. But he missed Brandon Cooks on a play that was set up perfectly. He was wide open. And then, again, that ball placement that he had, that throw that Brandon Cooks dropped, that was beautiful. That's the Goff that I was expecting to see. Those are the throws that he made in New Orleans. And we didn't see any of that. And that was when I was waiting to see, like you said, he didn't have to ball out. He just had to make those critical throws when he needed to make them. And that was it.
Yeah, and he didn't do it. And I was surprised how bad their offensive line was. I mean, their offensive line was, they were, and I don't think they got enough. I didn't think they didn't get killed enough for me. Like, everybody's been killing Goff. Everybody's been killing McVay. People been throwing shots at Gurley. But that offensive line played like crap. Like, I was like, what the are they blocking tonight? They was just, against a Patriot front that, it's solid, but it ain't that great. Shit. They were making the Patriots out to be the 85 Bears.
Well, we need to know what was going on with Gurley. He really has to have surgery. Yes, something's going on with that knee because he just didn't look himself. And just the biggest thing it's one thing to be hurt, but when you're just making mental mistakes and you're just not in the game from a mental perspective, that's what really kind of is like, okay, like this dude is just not ready to play. And I hate using injury as an excuse because I feel like if you're injured, if you're injured, I can't, because how can you evaluate? Because if, like that old Jimmy Connors line, you're injured, don't play. If you play, you're not injured. You know what I'm saying? So if that's the case, because how can people evaluate you? Well, you played,
So clearly you weren't that injured if you were able to suit up and get on the field. And plus, he had that performance against Dallas when he played well. So, and then they're not giving out all the information that we need. So it's kind of weird to kind of try to analyze. Okay, was he hurt? Was it a disciplinary issue? Like, well, I mean, obviously, I don't think it was a disciplinary. It's the lack of information, how vague they've been about it. It leads people to speculate.
Yeah, and my thing is, I just, this is just like, for me, I just need to know, because if you lost the Super Bowl because of arrogance, because you got CJ Anderson, and for whatever reason, he's played well in the last couple of games, you thought you were going to be able to just plug him in there and beat Bill Belichick. No, you need talent. You need guys to beat Bill Belichick, because sometimes you need scheme, and sometimes talent just wins out. Yeah, and he needed that, and he needed. And whenever Gurley was on the field, he made plays. Like, he had some big runs that we didn't see from C.J. Anderson. So if McVay cost the Rams a touchdown because he outcoached himself, or he outthought himself, man.
Yeah, and we'll probably never know. I mean, we'll probably never know, or at least we won't know until somebody writes a book or something. But
it's going to come out. It's going to come out.
It's going to come out. And what would give me concern is the way Todd Gurley's been reacting to it, because Todd Gurley's refused to talk to the media about it. So clearly, there's something else here that they're not alluding to. But
he's pissed.
Yeah, he's pissed, because I mean,
and he don't want to say the wrong thing. So.
Especially if he's injured, then obviously there's no problem in saying, okay, he was injured, he just wasn't himself. But it's been a lot of mixed signals about how hurt he was, if he was hurt at all. And then obviously people see the production that he was having when he did play. And people were seeing the game that he had against Dallas. And I was like, okay, well, he looked healthy enough against a good defense in Dallas. So what exactly, that's why sometimes I hate these. I feel like these NFL coaches kind of outsmart themselves sometimes, and it's too much of, you can't let the opponent get a schematic advantage, so we got to keep everything close to the vest and everything. I mean, sometimes that annoys me so much. I'm like, just come out and tell people that he's fucking injured. Like, stop playing this, we got to basically be Jason Bourne, CIA secrets and CIA operatives about injury statuses. It's like, stop. Just put out that the guy's hurt. Like,
right. Which is what he tried to do. Like, we're going to see a lot of Gurley. Like, you tried to mess with Bill Belichick. Like, you're not going to mess with Bill Belichick, because he's not going to fall for those type of things in the press.
Exactly.
And the other thing that I found interesting is that, and we found this out, of course, when the Super Bowl hit, is that Bill Belichick has been testing Sean McVay the whole year.
Yeah.
and he had the nerve to even answer, like, bro, like, he's getting in your head. He got in his head and totally messed Sean McVay up, because Sean McVay had the nerve to even reply.
I haven't seen a coach in a big spot be out coached like that in a long time. I mean, that dude, and look, there's no shame in being out coached. I mean, Bill Belichick is arguably the greatest NFL coach that has ever lived. I mean, if not, he's in the conversation. So there's no shame in being out coached by Bill Belichick. But I mean, the level in which he was out coached, I mean, that would concern me.
Hey, man.
But I mean,
Doug
this
Peterson.
is not. But this is not saying that Sean McVay can't recover. This was his first hiccup. He's got a great record over 2 years. He's done some really good things. I still have faith that Sean McVay is going to be a very, very good coach for years to come. So this is not us bashing him and saying that, he should get fired next year because he's terrible. No, the guy's got a lot of opportunities, hopefully, with that team, with that quarterback and that running back. Granted, if they all stay healthy, to get back to a Super Bowl. But that's what's going to take. It's going to take him getting back to a Super Bowl and, winning. Because that's how bad that performance was.
And the history of football tells you that's extremely hard to do.
Yeah, true.
And that's why Bill Belichick is like the GOAT coach.
Yeah.
Because, he's been there 9 times and he's won in 9 different ways. And it's rare that Peyton Manning's played in 3 with twice with the Broncos. And I think once with the Colts, but the Dolphins twice with the Colts.
Yeah, he lost to the Saints. Yeah, he lost to the Saints. Remember, 2009. He got there in 2006. He got there in 2006. That they beat the Bears.
They did
that terrible Super Bowl with Rex Grossman. And then they got there in 2009, and they lost to the Saints.
Right. Okay.
And then he had the 2 against with Denver.
Okay, well, but Peyton is at a otherworldly talent. Like Goff is not that, so you need the coach.
Mm-hmm.
And so so we'll see. And the NFC is only going to get tougher. So
yeah, well, I mean, but hey, I mean, they got the foundation of a really good team, so that's the good thing. And look, this won't mar them. I don't think too much, because I think they can recover from this. It's not like they lost it's not like they blew a 28-3 lead. Sorry, Kyle. But it's not like one of those franchise-altering losses. I mean, I think they can recover from it. They got Aaron Donald, they got Gurley, they got Goff, so they got a good infrastructure in place. They got the key, they got foundation pieces for a franchise that can make a long, sustained run. They just got to get better. He got to coach better, and Goff's got to play better, and Gurley's got to stay healthy. And that's the one thing that would worry me if I'm a Rams fan is Gurley. Man, he's had some issues with that knee going back to college, and now it's the same knee that he tore the ACL. So, I mean, that would worry me a little bit, especially for a running back. That would concern me a little bit. But I think the Rams are in good shape overall. But yeah, that was not a shiny moment for them. That's for sure.
Nah, not at all.
Yeah, well, let's move on from the Super Bowl. I think we've said almost too much about the Super Bowl, because I mean that's how much of a lack of energy I have to talk about the damn Super Bowl. It's just, I figured I'd talk to you about it because it was just, you were in Atlanta, so I figured I'd get your thoughts on the whole Super Bowl experience and city hosting it and all that. But we had some news items to come out today. Which one you want to tackle first? You want to tackle Kareem Hunt first, or you want to tackle Kyler Murray?
Kyler Murray.
All right, well, let's talk about Kyler Murray. I'm not shocked, and I wrote about it. He had an interesting dilemma, choosing the NFL or choosing baseball. I'm not surprised he chose the NFL. I think he was leaning strongly against it, or strongly towards it, from everything you read and heard. I just really hope this kid's getting good advice. I really do, because I don't know about his NFL prospects. I never watched him play this year and thought, man, I'm seeing a superstar, all pro, the next Russell. I'll be honest with you. I didn't see that. Yes, he played great. He deserved the Heisman, but I didn't see him as a superstar NFL quarterback. I hope he's getting good evaluations. I hope he's, getting good advice from agents and, his team, whatever. And he's making the right decision. How do you feel about the whole Kyler Murray situation?
It was no doubt in my mind he was going to pick the NFL. I think it's a chance to get money right now, and if he fails, he can always go to play baseball.
Yeah.
When you play baseball, you stay in the farm system for years, and there's still no guarantee that you're going to even make the team. So, but when you do, you get paid. That's the upside. But with NFL, he can get paid right now. He'll know whether or not he can play in the league, and that'll be that. I think, I'm with you, man. I didn't see anything that blew me away, and the way that Alabama destroyed them,
he did play well in the second half. He did play well in the second half, but I mean that game was already decided by that point. So,
And maybe they let up, but it was, and you know what? To be fair, I think Alabama came out extremely motivated to prove a point. So, and Oklahoma was not prepared for that type of emotional onslaught from them. But I think if you got a chance, and if you're, like you said, the people around you are projecting you to go in the first round as a top 15 guy, you gotta go. You gotta go, and live with the results. So I'm for it.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. I think the story is interesting for a lot of different ways, because I think you talk about the dynamic of baseball and football, and obviously we know that the money long term in baseball is bigger, but the apprenticeship is longer, and I think that's the decision and that a lot of kids face. Obviously we're me being a millennial, I understand this gotta have it now, this instant gratification thing. Like you just, time is money, and I don't have time. And you got to put yourself in the Kyler Murray situation. You balled out this year. You won a Heisman. You played in a college football playoff game. And now you got to get on a bus and go play in, Rio Grande, Arizona for the Arizona, name a team. You know what I mean? At A-ball, like that's a huge come down. You know what I'm saying? You talk about playing at the national championship level in college to, playing rookie ball in some godforsaken city in some backwoods of Arizona, riding the bus every day. Like that's a huge come down. So the apprenticeship, and then of course you get into baseball, and between your first year, your first couple years, if you outperform yourself, then you head to arbitration before you can get that big contract. So the apprenticeship is longer, but the money long term is the appeal. But then you have the NFL where it's even if he's a second round pick, the money immediately and the opportunity to compete for a job right away is going to be there, as opposed to being in baseball. And then, like you said, there's no guarantee. I mean, Kyler Murray can basically light up the minor league system and come up. I mean, how many guys have we seen in baseball that were just top prospects, guys that lit up the minors and then come up and, just don't do anything, can't get on the field for a variety of reasons, performance, injuries, both. I mean, it's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. So, how much of a hit do you think it is for baseball that they lost out on Kyler Murray?
Not much, because I think he was more of from what I know, I think he was more of and I haven't researched it, but I think he was more of a football star than a baseball star. So, he has a name, but I think the brand of Kyler Murray screams, Oklahoma football. So I think they'll be fine, because the thing about the major league, like they're doing a better job of creating stars in Major League Baseball, but for the most part, he just would have been another guy, because I think he played shortstop or something like that.
He was an outfielder. He was an outfielder.
He was an outfielder?
Yeah, I think so. I believe so. I believe he's an outfielder.
Okay.
I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that, but I believe he was an outfielder.
No, I'm actually looking it up. But no, I think baseball will be fine. Baseball will be fine, because they weren't going to see him anyway.
I think they'll be fine. I do think it's a hit in the sense that, what's the perception of baseball in the sense that, they can't appeal to the black audience. They can't appeal, they can't get young African-American kids to play baseball anymore. And what's the reason? Obviously, there's been studies and documentaries and articles written about it. And I think it's just another aspect that plays into that narrative. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously here you had Kyler Murray, who, the brand, two-sport athlete, a guy who played, was a superstar, Heisman Trophy winner. What if he had chose baseball? That instantly helps. I think it helps baseball that, you have a guy that, willingly chose baseball instead of playing football. And, he comes with that name recognition and the Heisman and the hype and all that. Granted, independent of what he would have done on the field, because that lasts only so long, obviously. But I think it's a loss. I don't think it's a huge loss. Obviously, baseball is going to survive without Kyler Murray, clearly. But I think it's a loss. I think if you're the Oakland A's, I think if you're Billy Beane, I think you're sitting there like, damn, we missed out on an opportunity to make some money, some cash.
Yeah. So speaking about the black part of it, there are a lot of African American or people of color, however you want to frame it, baseball stars on the rise. So I think they still got a chance to do that. Like this kid in Atlanta, Ronald Acuna Jr., man, this dude,
yeah,
man, this dude is the truth.
Yeah,
and I'm a fan already. Then there's another Juan Soto, and of the Nationals. He's dope. So I think they have some guys that are on the rise. But to what you're saying, like they just lost out on what could have potentially been another guy that black kids could have looked up to and aspired to be. So that's a good point.
Yeah, especially with the two-sport component and all the marketing that had he been successful, I think it's a missed out opportunity for baseball. I do. I mean, they'll survive. They're not gonna lose sleep over it. I think they'll just be like, it's a missed opportunity. It sucks, but they'll move on. But so how do you see him? How do you see him faring in the NFL? Like, how do do you really have an optimism that he's going to be legit? Do you see him as a guy that maybe, because a lot of people, especially with the success of Baker Mayfield now, people are always saying, oh, well, Baker Mayfield did it, so why can't Kyler Murray? Same system, as you know, that's not always an accurate assessment to compare two guys, because obviously they're two different players, two different guys, two different athletes, two different players, and that's not always a fair way to really evaluate that situation.
Well, we all know Baker Mayfield was special. I say we all know, but there are people that didn't know. But with a guy like him, you can see it. So he's able to overcome genetic, at least when it comes to that position, genetics, because of his attitude, his leadership, et cetera, et cetera. Same thing with Russell Wilson, and same thing with Drew Brees. Like, those guys, you can kind of tell that they just had it, that they were leaders of men, which is what everybody likes to say, right? Mm-hmm. With Kyler Murray, I'm somewhat concerned because I saw him on First Take, and maybe he was nervous, but he did not come across comfortable and confident, and it caused me some concerns because he was fumbling over his words, and we got to the point where I didn't even want to hear it anymore. I just basically muted the rest of the segment. But I think right now, looking at one mock draft on NFL.com, it looks like he's projected to go to the Broncos, and we all know that they can't develop quarterbacks, but they somewhat seem to have a system that could fit because Case Keenum is only 6'1". Mm-hmm. So they already have a scheme in mind that they could probably, run with them. So I think that as the NFL continues to progress, like, I know they love the big 6'5", 6'4" quarterbacks, but I think some of these 6', 6'1" guys will start to make waves in the NFL and be successful and start to kind of knock down the traditional way that they typically like quarterbacks. And I understand, because they have quarterbacks that are 6'7". But what was funny is that when he was on First Take, and Stephen A. Smith was 6'1", right? He asked Kyler Murray, he was like, well, are you concerned about being able to see over 6'7" guys? He was like, well, can you see over 6'7" guys? He was like, no, I cannot. But the interesting part about the exchange is it got me to thinking, like, well, I don't know if other quarterbacks that are 6'4" can really see over 6'6" guys.
Yeah, I think that's always a little overrated too. Can you see over 6? I think that's always a little overblown too.
Yeah, maybe when you back up in the pocket, you can probably see a little bit more because you're not standing directly behind them, so you probably get a more vision. But yeah, I'm with you. I think it's a little bit overrated, and they got different schemes and stuff that they can run.
Well, most of the quarterbacks now are playing out the shotgun anyway, so it's not like they're under center too much anymore.
Yeah, right. So I don't think he's going to. I don't know, man. I have my doubts. I'm normally pretty good at this stuff, and I don't think he's going to be the guy.
Yeah, I'm taking a wait and see approach with him. I mean, I like him as a quarterback. I feel the same way about him as I feel with Baker. I don't love Big 12 quarterbacks. I don't love quarterbacks that play in those gimmicky offenses. I know the NFL is trending more towards, that style of play anyway. They've been doing that now for the last few years, really the last 10 years, but, essentially the last 5 years is when it's really kind of gotten crazy about it. So, yes, I know that the spread offenses are being run in the NFL, but I still don't love Big 12 quarterbacks. Historically, they've not done well. I know Mahomes now, he's kind of put that to bed a little bit. But even RG3, outside of the first year, now RG3 was more health related than anything else. But, even RG3, people forget, Shanahan had to basically throw the playbook out the window. Like, they basically, consulted with Art Browse and were like, hey, what offense did you run at Baylor? Because we're basically going to do the same thing here. And that's what they did in RG3's first year, and he excelled. Now, long term, would that have been successful? Who knows? I don't know. Obviously, RG3's knees didn't hold up, and we could argue other things happened as well. That didn't help us realize that to its full potential. But I'm taking a wait and see approach, because I was the same way with Baker Mayfield. I was like, I like Baker a lot as a college quarterback, but I don't know if those antics and the things that he does is going to carry over in the NFL. Now, so far, 1 year in, so far so good. I still got to see a little bit more from Baker Mayfield before I'm totally convinced. But so far so good. I'm taking the same approach with Kyler Murray. Like, the guy has talent. I mean, he clearly has talent. So that's not even an issue. He's got a great arm. He's got a rocket arm. But, obviously that's not the only judge of a quarterback. Obviously, the leadership skills. I didn't watch the first take interview. You did. I'll take your word for it. He could have been nervous. Very well could have just been nervous. He's a young kid, probably never been in that setting. So, he could have been absolutely nervous. So it could have just been that he just doesn't have the leadership quality. It's very possible. Both points are very possible.
He probably may have felt some kind of way about Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah, true.
You never know.
So you
still don't believe in Baker Mayfield?
I'm not saying I don't believe in him. Let me be clear. I thought Baker Mayfield would be a very good quarterback.
Oh, okay.
I think Baker Mayfield would be superstar, franchise level, like cover of Madden's. This is one of the, top 10 great. I thought Colin had a great description of Baker Mayfield, and I was like, damn, that's like the best description I've ever heard of. Colin Cowherd. Now you can take it for what it's worth. Obviously Colin has his agendas. He called him Jeff Garcia, and I started thinking about it. I was like, it kind of reminds me of a Jeff Garcia. Jeff Garcia had some really good years in the NFL. Now, was Jeff Garcia a superstar? No. But was he a competent starter where you could win with him? Yeah, absolutely. I think he's a little bit better than Jeff Garcia, but I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait and see with Baker Mayfield. I want to see him do it again. I want to see him do it next year. If he comes out next year, has another great year, then yeah, I think he's shown me enough where, I think we can see, and I know what people are going to say. I'm a Darnold guy because I'm a Jets fan. I mean, even with Darnold finished the year amazing, and I have high hopes for him, but I got to see more. Let's see next year let's see a full year of Darnold when he's healthy with some offensive weapons around him, hopefully a better coaching staff, hopefully. We'll see. So, I say that about any quarterback.
Yeah, Baker is a superstar, and at least for right now. Now, once he start losing, that could change if he start losing. But right now, that dude is box office, man. And a lot of people had doubts about him, and he came and he showed and proved. And it's 1 year. The league got to catch up to him. Same thing with Mahomes. But I think if he keeps that up, if you want to call him a Jeff Garcia in terms of like a couple of good seasons, I mean, we still have to, like you said, wait and see. But he don't have the brand recognition and brand name that Jeff Garcia had. So that's where I see a big difference. And it took me a while to catch on to the Baker Mayfield hype train, but
no, I loved him in college. I loved him in college. So I was like, yo, he could be a quarterback on my team any day in college. I had some question marks about him in the NFL, and maybe it's my old antiquated way of thinking NFL quarterbacks, that height, from the Big 12. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I need to get away from that. Maybe it's just, hey, the way the league is transitioning, can more Big 12 quarterbacks be successful in the NFL? Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? So maybe I have to change my mindset on that. I'm very open to that, but. And again, I'm not saying that he's going to be a bum. I'm not sitting here saying, No,
you said it was good. Yeah.
Yeah. I to this day, I still say I think he's going to be a very good quarterback. Now, do I think he's going to be superstar? I got to wait and see. Can he be Matt Stafford level? Puts up numbers on a yearly basis, but on an average to below average team? Yeah. Now, can he be Russell Wilson or beyond? Absolutely. So I think it's fair to say wait and see.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we got to see what they do this year because that division is still that division. But to go to Cleveland and in just a few games, or basically half a season, or however you want to describe it, to change the way that they look at that team now.
Absolutely.
Is incredible.
Give them credit. Now they have a lot of talent too. I mean, the idea is let's not act like Cleveland's out there running a bunch of stiffs. Like, they have some talent, and they've done a great job. I mean, they should have. I mean, they've had top 3 picks now for the last. I mean, they've been horrible for the last decade or so, even more. So you would think that somebody smart like John Dorsey would go in there and finally build that team up. So they have some talent. But give him credit. He galvanized that team. I mean, I watched it firsthand. The first game he came in was against the Jets, and he lit us up. So I know firsthand the Baker Mayfield. The thing I'm interested with him is I think his antics and his behavior is good now, but I want to see what happens when they actually become a really good team and those antics start to. Those antics are still there, if it's going to be received the same way.
Yeah, I that's the one thing that started to rub me the wrong way, because this whole thing he had with Marvin Lewis is like, man, get over it, grow up. Enough's enough. Like, what happens when that's no longer there? And you can't, like, when he run it down the field looking at Marvin Lewis the second time they played. Come on, man. Like, now you're being a little bit extra. You're being over the top. It's not necessary.
You mean Hugh Jackson?
Hugh Jackson. I'm sorry. Yeah. Hugh Jackson.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like, bro, like, you're doing too much.
Yeah, like the first time with the handshake or whatever. Okay, all right, I can see it. All right, that was fine. But then the running down the field, staring at the guy, like, okay, like, dude, enough. And I think a lot of organizations, that's fine now, because Cleveland has just been so just godforsakenly awful for so long. So I think they're willing to put up with anything, anything that, if they have a glimpse of hope, they're willing to put up with it. But I wonder if it's going to get old eventually. Yeah. I wonder if it's going to get old eventually. Now, he may mature and he may grow up, and it's just a part of his thing. I don't know. What rubs me the wrong way is guys that the false kind of, the edge, the false, what's the phrase that people use, the chip on their shoulders or whatever. Like, Baker has a chip on his shoulder because he was a walk-on in college. Like, that's fine in college, but Baker, you were the number 1 overall pick. Like, at some point, the chip on the shoulder is kind of like, okay. Like, I can understand Aaron Rodgers having a chip on his shoulder because he was projected as a top 5 pick and he went 24th to the Packers. Tom Brady having that proverbial chip on his shoulder because, he went in the 6th round. But Baker, like, you were the number 1 pick in the draft. Like, so, like, at some point, like, okay, like, it's a little bit kind of manufactured. So that's another thing that kind of rubs me the wrong way. But I think the dude's got a chance, man. He's got a chance. So,
yeah.
But let's transition over to his team, Baker's team, the Browns, signing Kareem Hunt. I think it was kind of unexpected. I didn't think he would sign this quickly. I figured he would be more of like later in the season, kind of towards July, August timeframe. But nah, Browns went in there quickly, scooped him up. And from everything you read and Adam Schefter and all the things that I've been reading about today, he had multiple offers, apparently. So the Browns weren't the only one. But he's from Ohio. So I figured it was so he probably felt like it was a homecoming of sorts for him. And also went to school in Toledo. Now, it's interesting that he had the incident in Cleveland. So that was a little interesting, that you would think you would want to stay as far away from Cleveland as possible. But no, they signed him, picked him up, 2-year deal. I think the first year is fully guaranteed. And then I think there's an option for the second year. I believe that's how the contract works out. But what do you think of the Kareem Hunt signing?
Well, I'm still processing it all. I do think it was a little sudden that he got picked up. I do think the Chiefs damn sure could have used him against the Patriots.
Yeah, tell me about it.
But you got to applaud them for taking a stand. Because they have an organizational culture in place, and they felt that it was best to move on, and apparently he lied to them too.
Yeah.
I know for me it hurts because I wanted to see Nick Chubb ball out. Like I thought he was going to be the man,
Yeah, Chubb is a beast.
Yeah. So
and Duke Johnson's nice too. They got a hell of, but I think they're going to probably trade Duke Johnson at this point because I think that's, you don't see too many 3-man running back teams. So I think they're going to probably have to trade one of them. I would think the likely option is going to be, Duke Johnson, but Duke Johnson's nice too.
Yeah, I just don't think Cleveland needed to make this move. Why? Just so nobody else can get him? That's what I'm thinking. Maybe you just didn't want anybody else to sign him, and you can get him dirt cheap.
I think the dude is an all-pro running back, and you could get him for basically below market value. Yes, he comes with a lot of baggage, but I mean, I think anytime you can add that type of player to your team, especially a team like Cleveland that's on the rise, if you can add that type of player to your team and it doesn't really cost you anything at all, I mean, it's basically a 1-year deal. Why not? You know what I'm saying? Like, I applaud them for doing it. Like, honestly, I told you offline, I was like, I wanted the Jets to sign. I thought that was the perfect situation for him to go to. A team like the Jets or a team like the Browns, a team that's on the rise, on the come up, that gives him another opportunity to play. Because, look, I don't think the guy should be. I don't like what he did as much as anybody, and I think he's going to pay his debt. He's going to be punished. He's probably going to be suspended. Anywhere from 6 to 8, maybe 10 games. Who knows? But once he pays his debt to society or to the NFL or whatever, then let the guy play. And I think I think it was a smart move for Cleveland. I think you can never have too many talented players, especially the level that Cleveland's at right now. They're on the rise. They're trying to go for it. I love the move by Cleveland, honestly.
Well, John Dorsey, I'm on Bleacher Report, and apparently they've had a relationship since 2016 when he was in college. So he knows the man. He knows him well. And, if you're just taking him off the board so nobody else can get him, that's understandable. And you also get the talent that comes with it. I get it. But when I look at what they have in Chubb, and then you got Baker Mayfield on top of it, like that's a lot. So when I say they didn't necessarily need to make that move, I'm saying that because they didn't really need a running back. But if you're also looking at it like, okay, so do I want the Jets to get him? No. Do I want Pittsburgh to get him? No.
No.
Do I want Baltimore to get him? No. So let me go ahead and get him for dirt cheap. I got a relationship with the guy. I know him personally. So I'll just go ahead and take him off the board, give him an opportunity to get his life on track, get his career back on track, so he can come in, make amends. We don't necessarily need to play him because he'll be suspended 6 games or whatever. So because we got Nick Chubb, and when he gets here, then we'll go see what happens. But that's really all I got, man. It's just still. Like I'm not in the camp that says he shouldn't get another opportunity to play. I'm not one of those guys, right? So I think he deserves to be punished, and he'll serve his time, and he'll come back, and he should play and continue his career just like any other person.
Absolutely.
In America. Like,
yeah. And I think the thing with him too, and the thing with him is like he's so young. I mean, he's it's not like this is a situation where he's Ray Rice, he's 31 or something, like he's washed up. You're just looking to get one last bit of drip drop from that talent. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the dude is I think he's like 20. I don't even want to mess up his name, but I know he can't be more than like 25, 26. So I mean, the dude is supremely talented, obviously. We've seen him his first 2 years. I mean, he was on his way to leading the league in rushing this year again, too, before he got suspended. And, yeah, so, I mean, I think if you're the Browns, I think it's a great move. I feel like sometimes as an organization, when you've been bad for so long, sometimes you got to make those moves. Sometimes you got to show your fan base, like, yo, we feel it. We're tired of being bums. Like we're going for it. Like we're doing this. And I think that's a move that's what it signals. I think it signals like, hey, we're all in for 2019. We're trying to be better. We think that we're a team that can compete for a playoff spot. And this is a guy that helps us get there. So I think that's a good move for them. I get what you're saying, and I get. I honestly don't believe that that's the case too much. Like teams, I mean, I think it plays a huge role into it. Like, oh, okay, let's get him because the Steelers might get him or the Jets might get him. I think that plays somewhat of a role in any sport when you're trying to sign guys. I think that obviously plays a role in it. But I honestly don't think I don't think Cleveland's in a position where they can think like that. Honestly, I think they just got to get as much talent as possible, and they did, and now they're back to. I mean, even if they decide to trade Duke Johnson. They still got a 1-2 punch of Chubb and Kareem Hunt when he plays. That's going to be outstanding.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, hey, and Chubb has, I think, injury issues also. I think
the knee. Yeah.
So it'll be good to have him, and then you can do the 1-2 punch, and, like they love to do in the NFL now, with two different running backs. So.
And they might keep Duke Johnson too, because I mean Duke Johnson is a threat, catching the ball out of the backfield. He's a return man, so he does a lot of different things for them too. So they might decide to just keep Duke Johnson. But I probably think that they'll probably trade Duke Johnson to get a pick for him or something. So, but yeah, I think I like to see the Browns making these moves, man. I think that's a good thing for the league. I think now it's just time to see what kind of drama and suspension comes from this. What do you think is gonna happen? What do you think he's gonna get like the 8 games?
If I'm the NFL, I give him 8. I'll just give him 8 and get it over with. But But what's the minimum? What is it? 6?
Yeah, I believe the minimum is like 6. I believe under the new policy or whatever. I think the minimum is now like 6.
Then just give him 6. Like I mean, you can't go wrong with that. I mean, the policy is the policy if you want to stand behind it. Now,
yeah. But
if you want to go ahead and give him 8 and try to be heavy-handed and say, "Hey, we take it serious," try to improve your image, then you can do that as well.
That's what I think. I think the NFL is tired of getting beat up by these damn suspensions or lack thereof. So I think they're going to probably try to. I don't think they're going to go too crazy with it. I think they're probably going to settle like 8. It's like, all right, man, just they could go 10, they could go 6. I think they're going to settle at somewhere in the middle, like 8. Like, hey, man. Got to do it to you. Got to set an example. And I think they'll do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So let's transition over to the hardwood. What's been your impressions of the trade deadline so far? Did some teams get better? Did some teams get worse? I already know kind of your answer. We'll get to the Lakers in a little bit, but just overall in the whole trade deadline as a whole, just kind of give me your recap of the trade deadline.
I thought it was interesting, not as exciting as it is normally been, but I think, for some of the teams like the Raptors, like I initially didn't really think that was a good trade for them. But then I forgot that Gasol kind of got that old white man's game. So I think he's way more effective than the center that they had there.
Oh, he's an upgrade over Valanciunas. Oh, yeah, he's an upgrade. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and if I don't know,
you can actually run plays for Gasol in the post. You couldn't do that for Valanciunas. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think having a talent like that on that gives them a competitive advantage in the East, especially when you have to face somebody like Philly. So now you got a center that can go up against Joel Embiid, when in the past you had a guy, but you did have a guy. So I think that's an upgrade. And like I was thinking also, and I will have to check the contract situation, if Kawhi was to leave, then you'll still have enough talent on the team as long as Sacco and Oda Jawabi continues to develop. Mm-hmm. So you'll be okay there. So I thought that was pretty cool. I thought the Fultz trade, I still didn't like it, mainly because and I just believe in Fultz and whatever's going on with that shoulder. But he didn't have a spot, he didn't have a position, and he was going to be he was going to impact them being able to sign Butler and Tobias Harris. So he was expendable. So it made sense. They got back a pick that they gave away in order to get Tobias Harris. So I think it was what turned out to looked like a bad situation for Elton Brand turned into a pretty good one. So good job by him. What else happened? Who else got traded?
There was a flurry of.
Up.
Obviously you had the KP trade before the All-Star break, or before the trade deadline. You had that trade go down. You had the Lakers making another dumbass move, trading Zubac and Beasley for Muscala. You had obviously you had the Fultz trade. You talked about that.
The Thon Maker.
Yeah, Thon Maker. Yeah, that Thon Maker trade. That was an interesting one. Out of all the trades, what's the one that you love the most?
I now like the Philly trade. Now that I had a chance to see them play.
From the Clipper side, or you like it from the Philly side of things?
From the Philly side of the things, yeah. I didn't know the Sacramento Kings got rid of LeBassiere. Wow.
Oh yeah. They traded Sky LeBassiere, and they also got Harrison Barnes. That was another trade.
Yeah, poor Barnes.
Well, I mean, when you finally read into it, he knew that the trade was going down, and he chose to play.
No, it's not that. I'm talking about just being traded all over the place.
Oh, okay, all over the place.
Yeah,
but I mean, but sometimes
not all over the place. I take that back because he signed there, then he got traded. Yeah. So
Yeah, but he's a good player. I think he'll help Sacramento.
Yeah, that's an interesting trade. I like smaller trades, those little small moves that don't look like much because they're not big names. But they can impact the team, like Mirotic going to Milwaukee.
That was low key a nice trade for them because I think he helps that team immensely. I think he gives them another scorer, another low post option, and he's a guy that can kill you from the perimeter as well. Can rebound a little bit. Yeah, Mirotic is a good move. What's the trade that you just didn't understand? Like, what the hell are they doing?
It was the Philly trade too, but mainly because the reason why it's both is been like, wow, man, you gave away the Miami pick, for Tobias Harris, and you have no idea on whether or not he's going to even stay there. But like I said, after watching them play, he seems happy. He seems to fit right in, and
he actually fits better than Jimmy Butler.
Yes, he does. And, Jimmy's definitely, if Jimmy want to leave and don't want to be third or second fiddle, then he can go ahead because I love, like you said, I love Tobias to the Sixers more than Jimmy because, his ability to spread the floor, shoot the three. He can do it all. I thought that was a really, really good move for Philly. I'm over here now looking around. Like I said, I wasn't too hip on the Gasol trade. I was still sort of iffy on that, but it just seemed like they were just trying to get rid of the guy. But they got Jared Jackson Jr. there, so I know they want him to play more. So I kind of understand it a little bit. But it just, I don't know. It's just something about it don't sit well with me.
I liked it. I liked it. I think Gasol has got a lot left in the tank. I think he can help Toronto. I think he'll be reinvigorated. I like when veterans kind of leave losing situations and they go to a winning team. I think you can instantly see them being reinvigorated. I think he helps that team. I think he brings a winning. I know he's been in Memphis for the last couple of years, but I think he's overall still a winning player. I think he helps them, and he is a not a little bit, but a clear upgrade over Jonas Valanciunas at this point. Like it's not even debatable. He's an upgrade over Jonas Valanciunas. So I like trades where you upgrade, where you can legitimately say I upgraded over the person that I had at this position before.
Here's a trade that didn't make sense to me, and I'm still trying to figure it out. The Portland Trailblazers getting Rodney Hood for Nitzkowskis, Wade Baldwin, and 2 future second-round picks.
I like Rodney Hood.
For all of that?
Yeah, they overpaid a little bit, but I actually like that trade for Portland because I think Rodney Hood could play. I think it improved. I think it gives them another guy who they could put in the starting lineup or can come off the bench and give them instant buckets. I think Rodney Hood was being wasted in Cleveland. I think they gave up a little bit too much. I agree. A lot for Rodney Hood, especially when the value wasn't really there. I don't see any other team that was going to pay that price. So, I mean, if you want to say you don't understand it from the price perspective, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it was the price perspective. Like when I look at that, I'm like, y'all gave up all that for Rodney Hood. Like you could have got it for Nick Stauskas and maybe a second round pick.
But that's how I feel about the Mike Muscala to Lakers trade. Like y'all gave up Zubac for Mike Muscala because essentially it was Zubac for Muscala, and I was like, really? Like Zubac was a nice, young, promising big. You gave him for Muscala's a shooter. He's just a 3-point specialist, a guy that he's the ninth man on your team. Like he's a guy who play, he's a spot up shooter. He gets you some buckets. Like, but you don't trade a Zubac for that guy. Like you could have traded Beasley straight up for Muscala and lost nothing.
Nah, you could have traded Beasley.
I mean, you probably could have had to give him like a second round pick or something, or throw in somebody else. But to me, you brought up Wagner. Like I would have rather them trade Wagner than Zubac.
What?
In my opinion.
I like Wagner, man.
I like him too, but I don't know. I like Zubac. I see something in that kid, man. I see that kid's been through a lot with the LA, and he still continued to play well. And plus, I like Zubac being with those Bulls in McGee and Tyson Chandler. I think he was starting to grow and mature more than that. So I thought those guys was having a good effect on him. So to trade him now is like, I don't know. Kind of felt. I mean, I'm not against trading Zubac. I was just saying, like, if you're going to trade him, get something of a more significant value, in my
opinion. Yeah. I mean, for Muscala, and especially
it just seemed like an overpay. Like it was just like, okay, you traded Zubac. It's not a real fair deal. Because to me, if I'm the Clippers, like, damn, I got Zubac from Mike Muscala. Like, yeah, that's a win for us.
But you know what Zubac reminded me of? He reminded me of Zizic a little bit. He reminded me of who was the guy that was in Antic?
Are you talking about Ashik or Antic?
Ashik, yeah.
Yeah, Omir Ashik, yeah.
Yeah, like he it was another guy in Cleveland when LeBron had that run with that first unit.
Is it Junis?
Nah, hold on. I'm gonna look it up. But he looks like he has a lot of talent, but it may not be there. Maybe he just was in the right place with a lot of talent. Because his main thing was he caught a lot of, he caught lobs. He was able to, he's long as hell, so he was able to get rebounds and put them right back. He seemed to have a nice touch around the rim.
He does.
But could some of that be like just him being, in the system and the byproduct of everything around him?
No, because he balled out. Last year he was hurt a lot and his minutes got cut for some reason. Luke Walton being Luke Walton. But his first year, because this was his third year, his first year with Byron Scott, he balled out the second half of the year. When they finally gave him some burn, once we were just a terrible team in the second half, like they finally gave him some burn and he balled out. So there was a lot, like, you ask any Laker fan, like Zubac, like there's a lot of Laker fans that like Zubac. Like the kid has always shown promise. It's just that they've never really given him a full opportunity to take the position and run with it. And even this year, they came into it with like little to no expectation. He was sick in the offseason. I think he had something going, a sickness or a disease or something going on. So he lost a lot of weight. He had to gain that back. The injuries and stuff like that. So there wasn't a lot of expectations for him. And remember when JaVale McGee got hurt, they basically just went to him out of desperation and he responded.
Mozgov. Timothy Mozgov.
He's not Mozgov. Now that's disrespectful now. He is not Mozgov. Man. Come on, dog. This nigga got more talent in his pinky than Mozgov now. But Mozgov got $60 million. That's to me, LeBron is top 10, top 5 all time on the simple fact that he got Mozgov $60 million.
I'll defer to you on Zubac because I don't watch the Lakers and I didn't see him play that much. I just saw him get off against the Warriors, and then I saw him play here and there in a lot of the box scores. And, he just seemed like, ball and hold. Like he's just one of these big lumbering white boys.
Yeah, he's a lumberer,
from
but I think he's got talent. But he's got talent, man. He's got. I'm not saying he's going to be basically Marcus Gasol or anything. I'm not saying that. That's not get crazy. All-star, defensive player of the year level type. No, I'm not saying that. But I think he's got a chance to be really good. So I think he's got a chance to be a 14-10 type of guy every night.
But you can't get that with Wagner though.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Wagner's. I mean, I like Wagner too, but Wagner's more of a stretch four to me, and that's a valuable commodity, obviously. But I think Zubac gives you a little bit more because he's a guy that can dominate in the low post. He's a rebounder. I just think that to me, Zubac gives you a little bit more bang for your buck. To me, in my opinion, if you're comparing the two, that's what I feel.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you'll get more offense from Wagner and more rebounds.
You get more shooting from Wagner, but do you get more consistent? First of all, Wagner's not consistent because Wagner will have a game where he shoots the lights out of the ball and then he'll fucking have a 2 for 20 night or some shit like that. So Wagner's not consistent. And Zubac, even the nights that he didn't really go off, Zubac consistently gave you a double-double, or at least close to a double-double. So I think Zubac is a nice, solid player. So to me, I think trading him away from Mike Muscala didn't really make a lot of sense to me. Now, I'm not against trading Zubac again. Like I'm saying, if you would have got a piece that of more significance, I would have said, okay, yeah, trade Zubac. But to trade him for Mike Muscala, it was just kind of like, okay. It just, you know what it felt like? It felt like one of those, like Magic was getting criticized and he felt like, all right, we got to do something. Like we can't go this trade deadline without making a trade. Let's just make this trade. Like that's what it felt like.
Yeah, Magic was pissed. He was mad at Dell Demps. So he's like, fine, I'm going to just get rid of everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
One guy, you won't even have Zubac now.
That's what it felt
we talk later.
That's what it felt like. It felt like, and I didn't even think it felt like that. It just kind of felt like, let's make a trade to the sake of making a trade. Like we can't go this trade deadline without making a trade. So they felt like they just made a trade to make a trade. And I hate those trades because to me, you end up 9 times out of 10, you end up making a bad trade. And I felt like this was a bad trade. That's just my opinion. We could agree to disagree on it. And I think a lot of Laker fans feel that way, honestly.
Yeah, it's possible, but they do like they need the shooting, and I think Muscala would bring that, even though he was bricking up, the place, the Sunday when they got shellacked. But and you know what? Now that you mention it, like I think the other part to that whole thing is you just traded for Reggie Bullock.
Yeah,
and he's a 3-point shooter. Like that's what he does.
Yeah.
So, but how consistent? Let me look it up. How consistent is he with? Because I saw him play in the Hawks, and he didn't look all that great at times. But Raph was high on.
He's another Reggie Bullock. I mean, you basically double down. You got another Reggie Bullock, and I'm not anti that. I'm just saying the price that you paid for that piece for that type of player is like, to me, you could have traded him for Beasley and like another lesser pick. Or another lesser piece on the team, or even like you throw in a 2nd round pick or 2, and it would have been a little bit more of a fair trade to me. But hey, Jerry West is the GOAT, man, for a reason. So,
the way he managed to just dump all those assets, those players for assets, I'm just sure.
So I tell you what, when I first heard the trade, I actually hated it from the Clippers' perspective. I was like, what are because I'm so confused at what the Clippers are. Are the Clippers all in, or are they kind of rebuilding, or are they're kind of in the middle?
They did this last year, though. Remember they did this with Blake Griffin.
Yeah, I know. And I usually, to me, like in the NBA, I don't think you could be in sports. Period. I don't think you could be like in the middle. Like to me, you either all in or you're all out. Like this thing of, hey, we're happy, we're content if we get a 7th seed, but we're okay if we finish with the 10th. Like I think that's weird for me. That's a weird position to be in. But granted, that still being their case, because I think they're still like the 8th seed, I believe, right now, or battling for the 8th seed right now. I think they're ahead of us in the standings. But, be that as it may, I still like the trades that they made. Once I started reevaluating the trades or whatever, I was like, man, they actually came out all right with the trade, because essentially this was the last of the Blake Griffin trade. So essentially they traded Blake Griffin and they got 4 first-round picks for him, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, including that Miami pick. So
wow. Yeah, that was the one that got me. Is like that. I still don't know what Elton Brand was thinking with that. Like, bro, like you gave up what 4 picks for Tobias Harris?
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Yeah. That's
you didn't have to give that much away. Like he got man. Elton Brand got taken to school. I think he made the other trade with Fultz just to save face.
Yeah. Well, I think it was just a point out where I think it was a little bit of save face move. It was a little bit of a save face move too. But I also think that they just had to get Fultz out of there. I think that you couldn't continue that situation, because it was just becoming embarrassing at that point. So give the kid I think it was just the best for all parties involved to just separate yourself from it and just say, you know what, let's give this kid another shot somewhere. Maybe he has a chance with Orlando. Maybe he doesn't. But I think they just had to cut bait with him. But yeah, no, I think I'm not as hard on Elton Brand as you are, because I still feel like, hey, did he improve his team? Yes. Was it an overpay? Yes. I think it's a good trade if he ends up re-signing there long term, and obviously they end up getting to a finals, and I think it pays off. Now, if they implode, and I know you're higher on Philly than I am, I still have my doubts on Philly. Ben Simmons not being able to shoot still concerns me. Jimmy Butler still concerns me. I think he's a mental midget. I think he's a mental breakdown waiting to happen. So I still have my concerns over Philly. I know they looked good yesterday, smashing us, but I think that was more about us than Philly, honestly. But yeah, I still have my concerns about Philly. So, but I think it's a good trade for Philly if they end up doing what they're potentially able to do. Now, if they don't, then I think they're going to look really bad. Elton Brand's going to look really bad.
Oh, he's going to get fired. Yeah, he's going to get out there. Because Landry Shamet, who was playing well,
he was actually balling. That surprised me, because I was surprised that they actually gave up on Landry Shamet, because he was actually playing really good. He was actually playing really, really good for them. So I was surprised that they gave up on him. But again, I mean, it did feel like an overpay for Tobias. Yeah. But I didn't get your thoughts on the Porzingis. Well, I did get your thoughts on the Porzingis, but you want to talk about the Porzingis trade real quick? Just kind of where you just for the people because people have been asking me about my thoughts on it, and I've been very vocal about it. I don't like the trade for the simple fact that so much of it is contingent on the Knicks signing Durant and Kyrie. And unless you have a backroom deal, handshake agreement, signed, sealed, and delivered, I don't like this trade. Because I'm not against trading Porzingis, because to me, Porzingis was too full of himself. Like, this dude is in here walking out of meetings with Phil Jackson, sitting here demanding shit, having his brother do his dirty work. Like, dude, you've been in the NBA for 4 years, and the Knicks have been completely dog shit. Now, that's not all been your fault, but he's been hurt half the time. He's never played a full season. I don't think he's ever played more than 70 games anyway. Like, I'm not anti-trading Porzingis, but if you're telling me that you're trading Porzingis and your plan is to sign Kyrie and KD, and you don't sign those guys, then I'm kind of like,
Yeah, so that whole trade is funny to me, mainly because of Porzingis. Because he clearly didn't want to be there, and he walked into the office trying to get fired.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was his whole thing. Yeah. So, and
he showed up 3 hours late and shit. Yeah,
yeah.
Like, he was just definitely trying to get fired.
Yeah, New York made the best of a bad situation, honestly, because they reached the breaking point with him. He didn't believe in these picks they got and the potential signings of Kyrie or Durant. He didn't believe in the organization, and he wanted to get out of there. And I think that for them to get back what they got back with Dennis Smith Jr., who's looked pretty good so far, I think it's going to help out. And even if they don't get KD or Kyrie, like with Dennis Smith, Kyrie, you don't really have to get him. He and Kevin Durant could be well, but Kevin Durant is the one. Like, if you don't get KD, then what? Because now you're looking at Knox. as being your guy, or whoever you can get, Zion, RJ Barrett, Cam Reddish, or whoever, as being your franchise guy, so you can just go young and build that way. But you got rid of a guy who was going to be a cancer on that team for the upcoming future, and you got back, some assets in return.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I like I said on Twitter, like, I don't hate the trade in that of itself. I think the trade was pretty fair overall, especially considering the situation. I just hate that so much of the success of the trade, because the first narrative that was thrown out there was this now puts the Knicks in position to go out and get Kyrie and KD. Like, they the Knicks didn't make this trade and be like, oh, okay, hey, here comes Zion and let's build through the draft. Like, they didn't do that. Like, the narrative has automatically been KD, Kyrie. And when you don't do that, you're going to have a hard time selling the New York media. Hey, here comes Kemba. Here comes, name a, what I'm saying? Like, you're going to have a hard time selling that. You know what I'm saying? But I get what you're saying. Like, they had to get Porzingis out of there. He just didn't want to be there. My issue with that is I just don't see Kevin Durant. I still don't believe Kevin Durant's going to leave Golden State. I'm in the minority in that camp. And if he does leave Golden State, I don't see him going to the Knicks. Like, what do you gain from that? Like, what do you gain going to the Knicks?
I don't know. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what he gained going to the Knicks. He can change the narrative around his legacy. If the Knicks turn into a winning franchise, if they turn into a playoff team.
I get it. I don't know. I honestly think it hurts his legacy, because now it's like you leave, because now you could spin it the other way. The Knicks draft Zion, and Zion ends up being what he is, and then they get Kyrie. It almost feels like now he's jumping on another bandwagon and trying to join the Knicks. I don't know. To me, once you leave, it only hurts your legacy again to leave again. It's just like, I don't know. It's just, to me, it's just, and he doesn't have a similar situation like LeBron where he went home. So it was like you could spin it in that narrative, unless he's going back to OKC, which that's not happening. Like, I don't see a situation where, to me, it helps his legacy one way or another. To me, at this point, you Gucci. You might as well just stay with Golden State. It's a perfect system. It's designed for you in a lot of ways. Like, just stay there and win 6-7 championships, my nigga. Like, just do you. Like, at this point, you're not going to save your legacy one way or another. So, and that's just me. I'm in the minority. I understand that. I just feel like there's nothing you gain from going to the Knicks, in my opinion.
If he wins 6 titles by staying there, yeah, it will look great, but it will always have the asterisk by it, right?
It will. It will.
In KD's mind, he's doing all of this to himself. In KD's mind, from what was reported out there, and he had his whole rant, but people get this stuff from somewhere. He thought that when he won those titles and he hit those shots,
he would get the respect.
Deliberately on LeBron, he would be the man. All he did was add to LeBron's already crazy legacy, because it's 104. So now there's this lore that's created about LeBron that he and LeBron's, in this weird, unorthodox way, is gaining by losing. And KD can't seem to understand it, because he was like, I just won 2 in a row. I'm back-to-back finals MVP. I hit the shot over LeBron. And you guys are refusing to say that I'm better than LeBron. Not only that, LeBron started to decline. And all you guys talk about is LeBron every day. It's like, what else do I have to do? And he's going to try to do something to change what people think. But I'm with you. I don't think it's going to help unless he wins a title in New York. Now, he wins the title in New York.
I agree. Now, if he wins a championship, he wins a championship with the Knicks, of course. But even if they sign Kyrie, there's no guarantee that they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Nah, that was the way Kyrie be acting.
That's a whole nother podcast episode. But I don't know. To me, you can look at it from a lot of different perspectives. I just honestly don't see. To me, if I was advising Kevin Durant, I would say, stay in Golden State. It's perfect for you. It's a system that's designed for you. You're in a dynasty. Like, just ride it out, my G. Ride it out till the wheels fall off.
But you know what, man? I think the other thing is, I think he's just tired of Golden State. even if they get rid of Draymond, I think just everything that came with going to Golden State, regardless of how fun how fun it used to be for them, I think
it's never going to be his team. It's never going to be his team. It's
nope, it won't be. And for a while, he almost had it because Curry took a back seat. But I think Curry can sense what's about to happen because when Curry came back, Curry took back over the team. And Curry became the man, and everybody talked about Curry. Even when Curry was out and Durant put up some monster performances, like he got talked about a little bit, but they don't talk about him the way they talk about Curry. They talk about Steph Curry on the level of LeBron. That's where Steph Curry is.
Curry is the emotional leader of the team. I don't say the emotional leader of the team. Draymond's the emotional leader of the team. But I think Curry is the quarterback. Curry is the guy that, the media first comes to talk to. Curry's the baby boy, the cover boy. It's just Curry's team. He was the first there. He was the first one. He was the MVP. I just think it's a different dynamic. And it's crazy because you would think that Kevin Durant obviously is a better player than Kevin Durant. Individually is a better player than Stephen Curry. But Stephen Curry just has that quality about him that I think people just gravitate to him more than I think a Kevin Durant.
If LeBron was to retire, the league would be Steph Curry's. Steph Curry will be the face of the league. He's the next man up. It would be his league.
Well, you can make the case. You can make the argument that who's had a more profound impact on the NBA, let's say in 20 years from now when we're having this discussion, where we're old men, who had a profound impact on the league, you can make the case that Steph Curry had probably a bigger, more profound impact on the NBA on the court than LeBron. You can make that argument.
Oh, yeah. In terms of impact, yeah.
Shooting, like he completely changed the NBA.
Yep.
And as great as LeBron has been, you can't say the same thing from on the court for LeBron.
Argue.
You know what I mean? You could argue it. You could legitimately have that debate. You can make the case that LeBron's had an impact as far as player empowerment and having the ability to be a great player and leave your original team. That from that end of things, yeah. But on the court, like you can honestly have that discussion and you wouldn't be looked at with a side eye like, bruh, like when you think about it, who had a more impact on the NBA, changing the way the game is played? Steph Curry.
Right. And Kevin Durant wasn't able to do that. And
nope.
He kind of fit right in and just became a superstar. But I just think, man, like, I was reading the articles on The Athletic, and I know he has some things to say about Ethan Strauss. But even the things that he was reporting about what he saw, like Kevin Durant's, in the huddle, he's not in the huddle. He's over by the stanchion. He's not really dapping teammates up anymore. Like Kevin Durant has basically sort of distanced himself from the team and watch them play. Kevin Durant is doing a job when he goes out on the court, and he's doing what he does best. Like the court is his sanctuary, but it doesn't seem like he's having as much fun as he did the first 2 years he was there. And it could be, although he could have ended this free agency noise immediately by saying I'm coming back, but he's not. So, and I think that Draymond cussing him out, and they mended the fences or whatever, but with Kevin Durant, you just can't always go back with him.
No, I agree. And but that's what makes the rant kind of stupid in my opinion. The whole rant stupid and just kind of makes him look even worse. Like that's what's funny about like Twitter. Like half of Twitter was saying, "Oh yeah, go KD." He showed the media, and I'm like, no, he exposed himself to being soft and emotional. Because like, dude, you're sitting here crying and woe is me when you're the problem. Because if you want this to end, like I told you when I texted you, I was like, if you want this to end, sign an extension.
Yeah.
Go into Bob Myers' office right now and say, you know what? I'm a warrior for life. Sign me up. I don't care. Let's bring Clay into the room. Let's bring Steph. We'll figure out the money. We'll figure out the cap. But I'm down. I'm here for life. What's good? Let's do it. And that's it. It ends. But no, you continue to play this game of, well, I don't know, let's sign the 2-year contract with an opt-out. Like, you continue to play this game, and it's going to be media speculation. When you basically give dogs meat, they're going to fight. A pack of wild dogs, stray dogs, meat to salivate over. They're going to fucking fight each other over.
Yep.
So that's what the media is doing. They're just creating the narrative because you're helping push that narrative.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually a little fascinating to watch, honestly. Because they made
the NBA now is more drama and reality. I mean, honestly, we shouldn't even have an 82 game season. It should just be one big ass reality show.
Yeah.
I'm surprised HBO or Netflix or somebody hasn't been pitched the idea yet.
Oh yeah, they would kill if they had their own version of Hard Knocks.
Or Ballers.
Yeah.
like a real life Ballers. Rich Paul. Follow Rich Paul around. Like, yeah, no, it's the whole KD thing is just a mess. And I guess we can finally finish up with the whole Laker thing. I mean, we've talked about it online. We've dabbled in it a little bit, but how bungled did Magic screw this up for the Lakers with the whole Anthony Davis situation?
Man, he's trying to save things now. First of all, I'm glad he didn't do the move. I thought giving up a starting 5 plus assets is ridiculous for a guy like Anthony Davis, who hasn't proven he can win. But you put him with LeBron. I figured, people out there listening should be able to make that connection themselves. So I won't even go into that. But yeah, I got it. I understand. But Ball, Ingram, Kuzma, who's a killer. Like, imagine if it all just clicks, or when it all clicks for them, right? That team could be really, really, really good, because at the end of the day, they have a shitload of talent. So I'm glad that they didn't do the trade with what they were putting on the table. But mentally, because they are so young, it obviously affected them, because you got Lonzo Ball posted on Snapchat. Kuzma, I think, as being as real as he is, he addressed it and talked about it, was very upfront with the whole situation. And we haven't heard from Ingram from what I've seen so far. So, but I think now they're a little bit more comfortable, and Magic's got to come in. He got to do a sales pitch thing and got to get everybody on the same page. LeBron has to be the leader now and get everybody together and try to make a push for the playoffs, which I think they'll eventually end up getting, because this is who you got, bro. And the last time you guys made, on your team, you were on a team that made a drastic trade. It didn't work out so well for you.
No.
So, do what you said you were going to do, and let this thing play out. You and Magic obviously sat down and talked about a plan. And the plan wasn't this year. And even with AD, the plan wasn't going to be this year. So let the thing play out. Now, when AD becomes available, you got to go try to get him. And like I said on Dead End Sports, like, the Lakers would trade themselves for AD. Like, Kuzma, Ball, and Inge would trade themselves for AD. He's just that good. But I think that psychologically, LeBron and Magic got to settle these guys down and get these guys back on the same page. Because what's lingering now is, all right, well, yeah, they can trade it now. But what happens in the offseason? We're going to start all over again. So,
yeah,
so I think that's going to be the potential problem for them, is how do you get them to believe that they're going to be a future for this team, going forward. And at the end of the day, they could get Anthony Davis at 2021 or whatever his contract is up.
Exactly. Well, 2020. And then think about what kind of players Lonzo is at that time, what kind of player, because, we're grading this on what players Lonzo and Kuzma and Ingram are right now in 2019.
Right.
But what will they be at the end of 2020? Like, that's the thing that I think you have to look at too. Like, Lonzo, because think about it, Lonzo's only 21. Ingram's only 21. Kuzma's the oldest of the three, and he's, 24? Mm-hmm. So there's no telling what those guys can be in a year and a half from now. There's just no telling. They could, especially playing with LeBron, like there's no telling what kind of players, and getting a little experience, especially if they make it to the playoffs, like getting that experience, getting that knowledge under their belts, like who knows what they're going to be. I don't like those trades, robbing Peter to pay Paul trades. Like, oh, okay, I'm going to trade my whole entire team. It's the Carmelo thing all over again. And the biggest issue that I have with Carmelo, now I think that the Carmelo trade in retrospect gets a little bit overhyped and overrated, because none of those pieces, when you think about it, ever went on to do much of anything. Like Danilo Gallinari is a nice player, but nobody looks at Danilo Gallinari as a superstar or an essential part of a team. Same thing with Felton, same thing with Mozgov, same thing with the other pieces that they traded. And even the draft picks didn't really matriculate to much of anything. But in theory, the Carmelo trade was the barometer here because of, hey, the Knicks could have just waited, played their cards right, and got him in.
Yep.
Now, instead of having Carmelo, Amari, and nothing around them, you have Carmelo, you have Amari, you have Danilo Gallinari, you have Felton, you have Mozgov, you have all these pieces in place where now you're dealing from a position of strength, not from a position of weakness. And that's the problem that I think that these trades happen. And I also think the other situation that you have to think about too is they had to know that the Pelicans were not going to be willing trade partners in this situation. Right. You got to think about it. They were basically slapped with a right hand by Rich Paul, saying that the guy that they've essentially built that entire, not just franchise, but that the NBA in New Orleans has been built on Anthony Davis. Because quiet as kept, that franchise isn't long for New Orleans. They don't make a lot of money. They're like the second to last team as far as revenue. That New Orleans already lost a team once before. It's very capable that if he gets traded or leaves, they might lose that team for good. So the guy that they basically built their entire franchise around says, hey, I'm out. I'm gone. I'm done. Why would you think Dell Demps has to save face here? Mrs. Benson has to save face here. They're not just going to give him away, especially to a Western Conference team, especially to the Lakers, who everybody hates anyways. So, yeah, I just think that the whole thing was bungled from the start. I don't blame Magic for trying to trade him, but once the demands already initially, like you knew initially that the demands were crazy. Just keep it cool. Don't overplay your hands. Mm-hmm. Just say, all right, you know what? Okay, this is what you asking for this? Okay. Boom. Got it. We'll talk in the offseason. Because it was never going to be in the Pelicans' best interest to start trade negotiations with Anthony Davis and not have the Celtics involved. It just was bad business. It was just bad business.
Yeah, it was. And
because you can make the case that the Celtics have an even better package to offer than the Lakers.
Yeah, and even they got to think about what they're doing to their team, because Kyrie is causing problems. The trade talks were affecting them too, and it probably will still continue to impact them because Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown are being floated out there. And so what happens in the offseason, especially if Kyrie keeps up the stuff he's doing, because they don't know if he's fully committed. As Danny H said, we're engaged.
Well, the worst thing that happened with Kyrie was that young team making a run to the finals last year, or making a run close to the finals. That's the worst thing that ever happened to Kyrie, because he lost all his leverage.
Yeah.
He lost all of his leverage.
Yeah, he did. And they still, and now, he's been a pain in the ass to everybody. And now, went out and messed up his knee, his right knee. So what's going to happen with that? Now, it's just a sprain, but we know Kyrie's fragile. But so we'll see. But man, there was something you said that I wanted to piggyback. I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was about
was the late.
Oh, it was about just Dell Demps. And I think Brian Windhorst told Rachel Nichols this, is that they were just playing mind games with him. And I think Magic realized.
I think it was Brian Windhorst that put that out there. Yeah, they were just using the Lakers.
Yeah, to destroy the team internally. And I think Magic realized it when they asked for 4 first-round picks, including everything else they put on the table. They wanted 2 more. And I think at that point, Magic was like, fuck them niggas. Because it was like, yeah, you guys just being assholes right now. and just left it
I
alone.
mean, you got to think about it. Even the Bucks, when they traded Kareem or Lou Alcindor at the time, like even the Bucks didn't get that kind of return for Lou Alcindor, and arguably the top 3 or 4 or 5 best players to ever play the NBA. They didn't even get that return. Now I know the NBA in the 70s compared to now, GMs got swindled a lot by the Lakers back in the day. I get that, but still, even the Kareem didn't garner that much of a return. But Anthony Davis is like, come on now.
Yeah, Anthony Davis isn't worth all that. I'm sorry, he just isn't. That's just way too much. Nah,
not you ruining your entire team and the future of your team, and not to mention like you went through a 6-year rebuild and you're basically gonna throw it away for Anthony Davis, like when you can essentially get him in a year and a half if you're just patient.
Right, exactly. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I agree. But yeah, man, let's wrap it up for today. Before you go, man, go ahead and plug everything. The new projects coming up, everything. Just go ahead and plug everything.
Yeah, everybody can catch me on Dead End Hip Hop. Is the mic still on? Dead End Sports, Dead End Gaming, The Future, and I'm going to announce it on here. Frames Per Second podcast. This information isn't out anywhere else, so look out for that. And yeah, man, continue to build up the podcast network, which this podcast is a part of.
Yes, sir.
And what else? Jesus Christ. I mean, so much.
Social media, where they can find you on Twitter.
Yeah. So everybody, basically just follow me on Twitter for everything because I'm involved in everything. So yeah, it's at Kenneth B. Inge. On Instagram, it's at KBINGE. There's a link tree on my Instagram profile and in my Twitter, I believe, that has links to pretty much everything that's going on. So you can find all that stuff there, and it's probably be a little bit easier. There you have it.
That's it. I told y'all he's the Suge Knight of everything, man. He's just got his hands in everything. He's gonna start announcing Dead End East and Dead End West.
I thought about it years ago. I did actually have. I don't think anybody knows this, but we did have like a overseas team. We had this one lady.
Oh, word?
Yeah, she was I think in Europe, and she wanted to basically be the dead end over there for us. And we started working with her. I think we were setting everything up.
Wow.
And it was gonna be a thing.
Hey, well, it still might be a thing. So if you hear this, don't steal the idea.
Right.
It still might be a thing. Who knows? Maybe in 2020. Who knows?
Yep.
All right, man. All right, Ken. As always, it's a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for joining us and imparting us with some knowledge, man. Thank you for coming on the podcast, man.
Yeah, man. Always fun, man. Appreciate it.
You are listening to Any Given Sunday, a Sunday morning sports conversation. Please subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, Podbean, and all other podcasting services. Follow us on Facebook at Any Given Sunday, on Twitter at AGS Pod, and on Instagram at AGS Podcast. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show.
Yo, welcome back to the show. My thanks again to Ken for joining me this week on the podcast. As always, you can follow him on Twitter at Kenneth B. Inge, on Instagram at Kenneth B. Inge, and make sure you follow all the shows a part of the Dead End family at Dead End Hip Hop, of course, at Dead End Sports, at Is the Mic Still On. Also follow Dead End Gaming. Of course, can't forget about Dead End Gaming, dope show. And then also make sure you follow Chris Platt, Strictly Hip Hop and Hoops Talk podcast. Dope shows, man. Dope shows are part of the team. My bad for not having a podcast yesterday. We're going through, otherworldly weather conditions here in the great state of Washington, the Pacific Northwest, where I live. Man, we've been having snow basically for an entire week. So we've been snowed in the house for the entire weekend. And so yesterday was just a little tricky trying to do the podcast with family and kids and being snowed in and digging ourselves up out of feet of snow. So yeah, I had some time today in the schedule. It cleared up a little bit, so I was able to get the podcast done. So yeah, as always, thank you guys for listening and supporting the show. There is no podcast, there is no show without you guys. So greatly appreciated. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at DManuelBrown, on Instagram at DManuelBrown, and of course on Snapchat, MannyBro15. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for supporting this show. We'll be back next week with another episode of the podcast. Until then, have a happy, safe, blessed week. See y'all next week, everybody. Peace. Serious sound.
Life moves fast. It's good to take a step back and appreciate the little things in life. On Simply Complex, we dive into those professions, items, and processes we often drive past in a blur or take for granted in our daily rush. Subscribe to Simply Complex on Apple Podcasts or wherever you enjoy listening most to take a deeper look into the deceptively simple things in our lives that are actually extremely complex.